Fanzone, united by the game, powered by Moore's World of Sport.
Welcome to Fanzone, your hottest and latest destination for all Zimbabwean sport. We bring you passion, drama, and non-stop action, all happening here in the Fanzone studio. My name is Sips. It's the end of the 2025 Castle Lager Premier Soccer League. Dynamos, under the head coach of Kelvin Kaindu, survive and pull off mission impossible, finishing 13th in the final log standings, while we say goodbye to Kwekwe United, Yada, Bikita Minerals, and Greenfield. And while the Castle Lager Premier Soccer League finishes, it's also the Moore's PSL predictor that finishes as well. We have crowned victors, which we will be talking about later on in the show. Joining us today, it's former Caps and Warriors player David Sengu. How are you doing today, David?
Yeah, I'm good, Sips. How are you?
I'm great. Happy to have you on the show. Caps, their season, not the best season they've had so far.
Yeah, thank you so much. And I think it's down to, how you prepare, your season, how you buy players, how you bring in, everyone together so that your season could be successful. But it wasn't to be, because Caps was floating on the relegation zone for so much long time. They never took off the way we wanted, because I was part of that technical when the season started. But in the middle of the season, when the technical was changed, we had to be pushed aside so that the next technical team takes over the team, and at least they managed to survive relegation.
Yeah, so a little bit more on David's thought on the Caps season and what they can improve on for next year. But it's also welcome back to familiar face, Lawrence Mangenje. How are you doing today?
Good, Sips. Great to be back on the show. Fascinating season it was, like you rightly said.
Yes, you were there also at the Dynamos versus Platinum game. Nail-biting, but a goal is drawn in the end, hey?
Yeah, indeed. I think it was to be expected. But there was no way Dynamos were going to get relegated at their traditional home, that is Rufaro Stadium. So I think it was a result which I somewhat expected at the end of the day.
Yeah. And also, familiar face, Star FM sportscaster Simba Chiminya. How are you doing today, Simba?
I'm good, Sips. How are you?
Yeah, I'm great. There's a lot to discuss on the show. Starting with match day 34, we've just sort of already discussed it a little bit, but Dynamos versus FC Platinum, a goalless draw. Simba, there were lots of opportunities for Dynamo. FC Platinum, they were holding in there, but it was mainly Dynamos who had the run of the ball, had the opportunities, yet they failed to convert.
I think getting into the match, Dynamos wanted a quick goal so that they can unsettle their pressure, their opponents, and also try to get a cushioning goal should FC Platinum get a goal, because at some point they thought that a defeat would have left them in a precarious position. But if you do the maths, even after the end of the matches, you could tell that even if they had lost, they were still going to survive, because they had done their work against Bikita Minerals in their previous match. And also that game that they managed to snatch a draw against Yada. But in that game, I thought they were just trying to give something to their fans, that they tried to play to get a win in that game. And when you look at Dynamo's overall performance, I think that they really tried in that game, even though it was FC Platinum who had the better chances, because there was a chance that fell to Jarison Selemani, and it was a good shot, just a narrow mistake, it went over the bar, and a glorious chance that fell to Belise Jubane after coming in as a second half substitute, and that could have been a goal for FC Platinum. Yes, Dynamos had more possession, but in terms of clear-cut chances, it was FC Platinum that had clear-cut chances in that game. But all the same, they managed to bow out of the 2025 season with a point, and even their fans celebrated.
Yeah, I mean, you have to give it to Kaindu Larry. 11 games in the PSL, unbeaten. Nobody really saw this coming, because he had just been sacked from Highlanders for poor results, yet he's gone and done the reverse. What are some of your thoughts on Kaindu and what he's done for Dynamos?
I think he's done an incredible job. Look, Dynamos were down and out by the time that he arrived in the blue half of the city. And even if you were to listen carefully to what he said yesterday after the game, he admitted that Dynamos surviving relegation was indeed a miracle. And a miracle it was, because from where Dynamos were when he came on board, and from where they are now, being able to achieve survival is something that would never be forgotten in the blue half of the city. And surely Kaindu really does deserve credit indeed.
Yeah, he
Yeah,
does.
just to chip in there, Sips, you know, look at, when he arrived, Kaindu, look at the players, how they picked from Ebo Kwatizo. People are talking about Emmanuel Jalai a lot, but for me, I've seen that Ebo Kwatizo really did well for Dynamos, because if you look at the left channel, most of their goals in this renaissance, in the second half of the season, came through the channel that he was playing. He was really good, and you could just think probably was signed during the second half of the season, but he was there all along, and probably it was the Kaindu magic that he gave him some confidence. And then you look at Jairus Kasonde as well.
Indeed.
He was there, but was not being given play time, and when Kaindu came in, he started playing. Isaka Mohammed, you'd think that, when the reports were coming in about the Ghanaians that were signed, and you could think maybe probably he was like the other players that had been coming to Dynamos and not really playing. But he was really solid in defense, the games that he played, the ball intelligence. So you say that Kaindu brought in something, and something that probably Highlander didn't see. Because if you look at the time that he left Highlanders was probably around 8 points behind the team that was at the top at that moment. And Dynamos were more than 10 points behind Highlanders during the time that Kaindu left Highlanders. But now, at the end of the season, Highlanders finishing on how many points? 39 points. Dynamos, 39 points. So incredible job from you.
Yeah, exactly. Incredible job from Kelvin Kaindu. But from you, David, it was a bit of a lighter match against Kwekwe United. Yes, you did have a game to spare in terms of relegation. What were your thoughts on that game? A 2-0 win just to see out the season.
Yeah, sometimes you really need to finish the season at the top, and in the last two, 3 games, Cape United has managed to win those games, keeping 3 clean sheets. So for them, I think they were now looking at next year, which is 2026. How many players are going to be remaining? How many players are going to leave the club? Sometimes football is just like that. People think that would be cruel to release, some of the players that did the duty for the team, from relegation. But still, Ian Bakala as a coach, I think he's done tremendously well ever since he joined the club. Because the club had only 2 wins out of maybe 12 games, that time. And by the time he took over, he started, slowly, and there was time that Dynamos almost caged up, with Cape United, because we're setting the bar between Cape and Dynamos, and where Dynamos were and where Cape United, were. And to be honest, I never thought these 3 giants would be, at the end of the relegation. By the time we get to maybe match day 30, but they were still there. But at least you can see how Ian Bakala wanted, to move away from the games that he won. He brought in Mugalu, Chitoshi, Ishmael Wadi. All these guys, I think, they're experienced enough, to help the team from where they were, to move away from relegation. But they floated in there for so long. So the Kwekwe United game, I think, it was a game that Ian in the second half, he had to use the youngsters that have been with the developmental side. Hassan Ajedi, I think, he played very well at the left back position. He came in. He's a midfielder, the boy, but he was played as a left back. He wanted to see what the boy has got.
Yeah.
Does he have the heart, to compete with the bigger guys? And I think he has shown just like that. And the rest of the young boys came in at the end of the match.
Yeah.
But still, I think Cape United need to reinforce, their squad, and also find someone who can score goals for them to compete at the top. That was lacked this year. If you look at the number of goals that they've scored less than the number of matches that they played. Imagine when you score almost like 24 to 26 goals in 34 games. It's not good enough. Yeah.
Larry, David brought up the topic of Ian Bakala being a good coach. The Caps, they finished 9th, so it's not a terrible season, but obviously it's not anywhere where they would like to be. Do you think his contract will be renewed for the 2026 season?
Well, obviously, I wasn't expecting David to say anything less about Ian. It's his former teammate. But look, let's just stick to the facts here. When he came on board in the green half of the city, the objective was to avoid relegation. That was the task. So I don't think there's anything that can be said of him not doing well in that regard. Because Caps managed to survive relegation. They actually did so with a game to spare, like what David said. So I think he did well. Whether or not his contract is going to be renewed is obviously a question for another day. But he did very well, if you ask me.
Yeah. Well, that sums up match day 34. Let us know which was one of your favorite match, and it brings us to the Fanzone Team of the Week. Remember, this is our opinion. You're more than welcome to chip in or maybe to have your own discussion, but this is who we think are the standout 11 from the match day 34. We've gone for a different formation today, a 3-3-4 formation. In the gates, it's a Prince Tafuna from Dynamos. Good save to keep a clean sheet. He has had a phenomenal season, arguably one of the best players from Dynamos and maybe the best keepers in the PSL this year. Then to the defense, it's God knows Murirwa from Scotland. Again, solid defense throughout the game against Talwan. Managed the back really well. Emmanuel July, how many times has he been in our team of the week? He's just so consistent for Dembare, and he continues to push forward for them. Issaka Mohammed, as Simba mentioned him earlier on, he's also had a really good game in the latter stages of this PSL season. He's come to life, brought them into many games and kept them alive. In the midfield, Enoch Karembo from FC Platinum controlled the game well for FC Platinum and gave them just somewhat to play for. And then Vusa Ngwene again from Dynamos worked hard in the midfield. And also Isa Sadiki from Triangle. He was the one who scored the goal to save them from a relegation against Greenfield. So well done to Isa Sadiki. And the forwards as well. Arthur Banda from Moors, boy oh boy, when he gets it right and he's in form, he does a great job. A brace for the Norton Bay side on Saturday. And then Tadiwa Chakuchichi hasn't had much game time. He comes from Scotland, but against Talwan, he did surprise. He played the full 90, a good goal as well, well drilled, one-on-one with the keeper, didn't choke under the pressure as the youngster that he is. And then Takunda Benura as well from Ngezi scored a goal. He was fighting hard for his team in that nail-biting match. And then finally, Tawanda Macheke from Talwan. He also scored a goal, and he was putting in lots of effort for the Talwan, the Wi-Fi boys. So that is our team of the week for match day 34. Sums up the PSL 2025 season. And with that being said as well, our player of the week is going to be Arthur Banda, in form that day, firing his shots and a brace as well. Castle Lager Premier Soccer League season, it comes to an end, and so does the Moors PSL Predictor. It's been a wild season. We have a final crowned champion. It is Simba sitting at the top of the table at the end of match day 34. 1,279 points. It's well done to Simba. He had some stiff competition from some other players, but he was the one who was the most consistent, and he'll finish at the top. In second place, it's Odansi, and he will be winning a motorbike. So, well, congratulations to him as well. Very consistent, couple of times in the top 10, but finishing in second place as well. For Mutsanya, they will be walking away with a generator, which is a great news for Mutsanya. Again, very consistent in the top 10. Fourth, it's Icon of 505. Somebody might have thought that he would have been one of the winners of at least the Suzuki Espresso in first place, but he just dropped down in the last couple of matches, dominated throughout the tournament, but in the last 5 match days or so, pressure got to him and he slipped down. So he'll be walking away with a laptop. In the 5th and 6th, it is Teacher Owner and King Pod. They'll be winning bicycles, so congratulations to them. And then from Fofo 10, Mario Fo, Miles, and William McKenna is Smart Inch, 40-inch Smart TV. So well done to all of our winners and everyone who participated. Remember that prize giving is on the 6th of December. The Moors, the Fanzone prize giving, 6th of December at the Moors and Ngoni Stadium. Come out in your numbers. You will be contacted if you've won a prize, if you're in the top 100. But that's where the main prize giving will be handed out. So do not expect any of your prizes before the 6th of December. There's also going to be an after party there as well. So exciting times, Simba. It sounds like the Moors FC after party is going to be live performances, music, band. Obviously, the Fanzone prize giving is somewhere to be on the 6th of December.
Yes, indeed, particularly for the fans. I think when you look at the prizes that are going to be won, some of the photos are behind us on this banner, and it shows that it's going to be great for the fans and something big, all the season and people making predictions and getting to be rewarded at the end.
Yeah, Lara, I'm sure we're jealous, Harry. We've missed out on cars, motorbikes, generators, laptops. It's like, you wish you could be a part of it, Looking at some of the prizes, which one would you be most excited for? Would it be the Suzuki Espresso, the other car? Maybe?
Yeah, certainly the Suzuki Espresso obviously is the first prize, and the grand one obviously is the biggest prize. But I was very surprised that Simba won it. I was expecting Icon. He led the race for most of the season. So, yeah, tough luck to him, but there's always a next time.
Yeah, there always is a next time. We're also moving on to our sweepstakes, so don't get it confused. There are two sections of sweepstakes. The sweepstakes you guys have been seeing have been the all-year-long season sweepstakes. That's been your caps, the bucket hats, the power banks, and the shirts. Those will be the last week of these. But also the main grand final sweepstakes. There's still the Suzuki Eco, the motorbike, the generator, and a laptop to win. Those will also be given to the winners on the 6th of December at the prize giving. They will be announced throughout the week, chosen by AI. And if you have been doing your predictions, you have to do at least 50% or more. You are eligible for the sweepstake winners. So congratulations to all of those who won a prize. If you didn't win a prize, it's unfortunate, but there always is a next time and always is a next season. Looking ahead to Caps' next season, as you said, there were a couple of things that didn't quite work in the Caps United side. And as someone who's been a part of Caps United, David, and you know the formalities and the unity behind it, what's something that lacked this year for Caps United?
Yeah, I think we lacked a gunslinger in the mold of William Manondo. Remember, he left Caps United going to Simba border, and I think he was the missing jigsaw in the puzzle, because William has been Caps United top scorer for the past 3 years, and letting William go and not replace him, I think that's something that wasn't looked into. Who is going to replace those boots, because they will be too heavy, to lift, because of Williams. Because the previous season, I think the 2024 season, Williams scored 12 goals, 13, because he was, one of those top goal scorers. But Leonard Chukwu just came in from behind and overtook him. And that's something that Caps United didn't, look into and solve that problem. So I think next season, they have to, bring in someone who can, give them those goals so that they can compete at the top. If you want to win the championship, even if the defense is strong, if you don't score goals, they will end up leaking in those goals. Yeah. So that's what happened this year. And for Ian Bakala, I think he had to bring in Christopher Mugalu so that he can, score those goals. I think Chris scored almost like four goals between the half season to this end of season, which was not good enough for me. If you look at the big team like Caps United, you can't have a striker who can score less than 5 goals amongst them. All of them, it's 4-3-2 maybe. Others have got 1 goal. Kunda Benyu, I think, at 3, who is an attacking midfielder. But it wasn't enough. That's why maybe Caps United had to be floating with the relegation most of the times. But I think come next year, they've learned their lesson. Yeah. They need a striker.
Yes, for Jerry, he's gone on an interview and he has alluded to the fact, he's anticipated that they will be signing a couple of contracts, signing some new players. Obviously, you're not in that room. You can't make the decision. But if you could wave a wand, in your opinion, who should Caps United look to just pinch to be that goal-scoring machine, if they could?
I think a team like Caps United, you need to understand one thing. We used to have Sheikh Mentauro. He was a product, maybe, of Cape United, Leonard Tsipa, the same Alus Munjira, Stuart Murisa, they came in from Darin T, but they came in and do, a wonderful job. They had Jom Gabe as well, who could chip in with those goals. Brian Badza, look at Nyasham Shekwi, the same, they could score goals. But then William Manondo comes in. So, obviously, when William left, I think that void could be seen. Cape doesn't have a goal scorer.
Yeah. But who do you think should fill that void?
Yeah, we have to look. We have to look into the market. Cape has to look into the market if they can even bring in Takunda Benura. For me, he's one boy. We work so hard.
Yeah.
Even bring in Obreo Chirinda. If they can break the bank and bring in Obreo Chirinda as well, I think they will challenge for the title. Yeah.
Okay. Would you like to see Kundai with a bit more game time? Obviously, a big purchase to bring him into the Cap side. Do you think he should get more game time?
Yeah, he came in Kundi, at the back of maybe staying a year or two without playing football. So I think this year, he showed some glimpses of how he is, how he can perform at the highest level. So by end of season, I think injuries kept on coming on him, but hopefully next year you start, together with the rest of the guys, because he had a short preseason with the rest of the guys. Maybe that's why he was struggling a bit. But we can see the qualities that he possesses, and that's something that we need to look into with Kundai Benyu. He's a fantastic lad, to be honest. He's a very good central midfielder, and as long as he's injury-free, he gives you 100%, in each and every training session, each and every match that he plays. So Kundi has to stay fit and do a very good preseason. I think next year he can give us something.
Yeah, I'm sure. So I'm sure you have some questions for David on the Cap side.
Now that he's no longer part of the technical side, but I agree with him that they need a gunslinger, and they tried to bring in Adam Tende from Masvingo United, but look, when he came in, he didn't do much like he was in Division 1. Probably he didn't have much time to settle. Only goal, the one that he scored against Akwekwe United. But you need somebody with a proven record, because the pressure that comes in with playing for Cape United, Dynamos, Highlanders, you need a player of strong character. One might be scoring at the other teams, but when you come to play for the big three teams, the pressure is too much. The expectations, it's too much from the fans, from the stakeholders. So you need a player of strong character, high caliber. And I don't know what really happened, but I thought William Manondo should not have been let go. And he is, of course, this season didn't get to play much because of injuries. But for me, him being in a familiar environment at Cape United could have brought more than at any other club.
Yeah. Well, we'll be interested to see how the 2026 Cap season goes. But David, we said earlier you also are a former Warriors player. Now, the Warriors have had a turbulent year, underwhelming year, but they did just recently get a win against Qatar. As a whole, this summary of the 2025 season, what do you thought about the Warriors and the way they played this year?
Yeah, I think we did do quite well. Remember, we last won a competitive game. That was last year in October. So we had almost over a year, without testing victory, and it's something that is worrisome, because everyone here is a Warrior supporter, apart from being a Dynamos, Capes, Highlanders, FC Platinum, fans. But when the Warriors are playing, we come together as one and, be the Warrior supporter, number one supporters. So, to me, when Super Mario came in, he said something about, the player's character, and that's something that we need to change, especially here in Zimbabwe.
So you agree?
Yeah, I do agree.
Okay.
I do agree, because remember, that's the highest level of football when you're playing for the Warriors. And remember, 16 million supporters will be looking at 11 players that are doing duty. And so those 11, they should respect that badge. And that's something that Mario wants to put up to the players and say, guys, let's go out there and perform at our level best.
Yeah.
Because if you look at Michael Nis, yes, he had brought in another dimension. Remember, changing coaches as well affected our rhythm. From Brito to Norman to Jairus Tapera to Michael Nis, now to Mario. That's inside 2 years, all those coaches.
Yeah.
Inside 2 years. So it's very difficult for the players to grasp, especially the philosophy of each and every coach who is coming in. And as Zimbabweans, I think we just need a coach on a long-term plan, whereby we put out our philosophy. And exactly like what Scotland has been doing, providing 5-6 players, that's where we should get our philosophy from. And that's where Super Mario should also look into, like what Michael Nis was doing. He was just going to watch Scotland matches mostly, because that's where the bulk of the players were coming from. So it's the same thing with Mario. He has to look into the local players. Now the season is over. He has to see all those players. I think he's having 1 or 2 camps with the local players, and he's going to choose which players is he going to take to AFCON. Yeah, so which is a fantastic time to have a look at all those players that he thinks these players will come. He might not know all the players, but I feel he needs to look at the top teams, maybe 6-7 that he needs to look into and assess those players. Because if you want to assess from Kwekwe to Scotland, that would be very impossible. Not every player is a national team player. Yeah, and you also need players that plays under a lot of pressure. Dynamos, Highlanders, Capes, FC Platinum, the teams, Gezi Platinum, the teams that are used to winning things.
Yeah.
That's where you need to go and look for players for the national team. If a player is coming from Kwekwe, why can't he go and challenge at a top team? Because we have seen it world over, that players that compete in the Champions League are the players that are being called to their national teams. It is. But with us, it's either maybe one team that competes in the CAF Champions League, and normally we don't go to group stages, which is very difficult, especially in the past 3 years. We've never seen a Zimbabwean club going to participate in the group stages. Yeah.
So you said a lot of the rhythm from the Warriors has been disturbed, but we did manage to salvage a win against Qatar. Does that increase your hopes for AFCON, or what are you thinking about the results for AFCON for the Warriors?
I think the win against Qatar, Super Mario wanted to see something in his players. Remember, he used another team that played against Algeria, and he had to change, 3/4 of the players against Qatar, and there was a difference between those, 2 games. The first half against Algeria was not so good, but the second half was a bit good, a bit better, compared to the first half. Then against Qatar, we started very well, and the boys, I think, were free to express themselves, to show what they're made of. Remember, Qatar are the Asian champions. So when you're playing against a champion, you would also want to show character. You want to show how you retain possession, how you play off the ball. So I think it's good. It's good for those players that played against Qatar. Super Mario, is he going with those guys, or he still go with the whole group? Because remember, there's a philosophy that he needs to put into the team before choosing those 23 that are going to be representing the country at AFCON. So obviously this camp without the foreign best players, I think it's going to work for him.
It's going to work.
Yeah.
Okay. And there's a lot of opinion about Super Mario being elected as the Warriors coach. What's one more? What are your thoughts on him being elected as the main coach?
We have to support him. He is now the head coach, isn't it? So we have to support him, especially during this period, the AFCON, until the AFCON is done. Then that's when we can analyze how he has done with his team. Because remember, there are only maybe 4 games or 5 games to play. Because there's only maybe 1 or 2 friendlies before we start our campaign, against Egypt. That's when we start to analyze him. But for now, let's analyze the players first before we analyze Mario. And who is who in terms of position? Is he going to play these players in their favorite, positions that they play kuma clubs kwao. And also for us, remember we've got players who are not even commanding first team jerseys at their clubs. Tawanda Chirewa, one of them, Pio Antonio as well. He comes in, of course. Tawanda Chirewa hasn't played for Wolves of late. We have maybe our informed player in Maswanise. He has been informed for Motherwell. This past weekend he scored a brace. Marvelous Nakamba as well. He's not commanding, upper. He's our national team captain. He's not even playing for Luton. So sometimes you also need to look into that. Maybe it's about match fitness. Because if you don't play at your club, like what he said, Mario, here for Zimbabwe national team, you might not even be called if you are not playing for your national team.
Yeah, Larry, I know you're always an analytical person. Do you have a question for David?
Yeah, perhaps I would want to add a footnote to what he's saying. Look, to begin with, I'm not in a rush to call him Super Mario. Super is a very big word. He needs some sort of justification for that title. But he started well, if you ask me. Because, like David rightly said, we had gone for over a year without winning a football match. And we had gone for 4 consecutive games without scoring. So him getting a positive result against Qatar, a World Cup bound Qatar, by the way. You are talking about a team that is coached by a former Spain and Real Madrid manager. It's a confidence booster heading into the AFCON finals. And like David rightly said, I think we need to support Mario. He's the one that was chosen. He's the national team coach. There's not going to be another national team coach before AFCON. So we need to support him. There's no guarantee either that he's going to fail. We are looking at a coach that has overseen a team that is qualified to the knockout stages of the AFCON finals. That is something that we failed to do since we went to the AFCON finals for the first time in 2004. So I would agree with David in saying that we need to support Mario. He's the one who is there. Let's give him all the support and let's see what happens at AFCON.
Yep, let's see what happens. Speaking of finals, there is one more weekend of football to go in the Zimbabwean calendar. It's the Chibuku Super Cup finals hosted at Gibbo between Triangle United and Dynamos FC. Both sides have a 100% win rate in Chibuku Super Cup finals. Simba, what are your predictions for this match?
Yeah, a tough game for both sides. You look at Triangle, they managed to reach the final without playing any game at home. They've been playing away from home, but they managed to reach the final. So when you look at it, the last time that they won it, it was at the tournament. And look at the history of Chibuku Super Cup. Most of the teams that have hosted the tournament have gone on to win it, except probably Dynamos when they went to engage the Platinum Stars and managed to come out with the win in that one. But on the other hand, it might be also pressure on part of Triangle now that they'll be playing at home and they're playing against a team that has managed to win at this tournament before away from home. And you look at the pedigree of the two teams. Dynamos, of course, going in there as favorite because of their history in the cup and also their big name stature. So Kelvin Kaindu said it has been a miracle, and from the time that he's joined Dynamos, they are still to lose a game. And look, they've been masters in winning it, even in penalty shootouts. And no other team has managed to do that. Last time they played was against Highlanders, managed to eliminate them on penalties. So Dynamos going there as favorites.
Yeah. And what about you, like your thoughts and your predictions for this game?
Well, like Simba rightly said, Dynamos have not lost a game under Kaindu. I don't think they will lose that one when it matters the most.
You don't think?
I don't think they will lose that game.
Even at Gibbo?
Yeah, even at Gibbo. I expect Dynamos. Dynamos being Dynamos, they're capable of anything on any day. So it's going to be a very, very tough game, against a Triangle side oozing with confidence after also escaping relegation yesterday. They are also coached by a former Dynamos coach who has won the Chibuku Super Cup with Dynamos, by the way. But Dynamos being Dynamos, I expect them to get over the line against Triangle.
Expect them. Now, David, Dynamos are coming into this match as the favorites. People are expecting them to win. What can Triangle do in terms of strategy, players? What can they do to maybe upset Dynamos and to put pressure?
Yeah, I think if you look at Triangle at Gibbo under Genesis Mangombe, I think they've done so well. That's why they're to survive relegation, because they managed to win lots of games at Gibbo and they could score goals at Gibbo. I know for sure, because I once played for Triangle. So playing at Gibbo it's never easy. And even Dynamos, when they went to Gibbo, I think they lost at Gibbo when they went there under Genesis Mangombe, when he was coaching Triangle. And now, because it's a cup game, it's a different, ball game. So for Genesis Mangombe, I think having the silverware with Triangle, and the moment you took Triangle in the league, they were down with 1 point, I think. And imagine surviving relegation. It would be a fantastic season for him. Same as Kelvin Kaindu. Winning Chibuku Super Cup, I think it would be a fantastic, season to celebrate on because of the time that it took Dynamos. After 23 games, Dynamos were down and out, to be honest. But you managed to escape, which is a miracle to everyone. So that tag, Yaguti, who is the favorite in this tournament, I think I'll put it on Triangle as the favorite. Because as a Triangle, they've won all their games in the regulation time except the game that they beat Moors, isn't it? They beat Moors in the normal time. Yeah. Then there's a game that they won through penalties as well. So you can give it, for me, I can give it to Triangle. Because of winning all those matches besides that one game, through in the 90 minutes. And as for Dynamos, I think if they score a goal, they would concede. Then they went on penalties. That's where their speciality is. Yeah. Tendai Makoni, you could save penalties. But this game against Triangle, I'm not seeing penalties.
You're not seeing penalties?
If Dynamos cannot score, they will lose this game.
So what's your scoreline prediction then?
Yeah, I'm looking at a 2-1 win.
2-1 win.
For Triangle, yeah.
Triangle putting 2 goals against Dynamos?
Yes. Yeah.
And for you, Larry?
I would also go for a 2-1, but vice versa. I think Dynamos will win that game. Listening to Kelvin Kaindu yesterday, he said Dynamos will not celebrate surviving relegation. Let's reserve our celebration for next week. And for him, it's a question of when, not a matter of if, that Dynamos will win the Chibuk Super Cup. So I still believe Dynamos will get over the line, despite it being a very, very difficult encounter at a very, very tough venue. But I expect Dynamos to emerge victorious.
Okay. And for you, Simba, your final scoreline prediction?
I think Dynamos win on penalties, but like what Larry and David said, you look at Triangle. I think, in terms of the players that are really good, the forwards, Witness Shave, Menford Mzimo, I think they've been playing well. Mnashe Bamara in midfield, Praise Mangenje in defense. They are kind of a complete team. But when you are faced with a team with history in this tournament, and history, I think Dynamos will just use that to prevail. Yeah.
But still, I remember Simba. Dynamos at that time when they were winning Chibuku Super Cup for the previous 2 seasons, they could score goals, isn't it? My worry is who will score more than 2 goals for Dynamos, even more than 1. Because the last time Dynamos scored more than 2 was against Scotland. And after that, they can only manage a single goal. And they cannot defend that, single goal. So for me, that's my main worry is for Dynamos. Because Jairus Kasondo most of the time is isolated. Will be the only one up front there. So who is going to get those goals for them?
Dynamos just take the game to the penalties.
Exactly.
That's what they do.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I'll agree with you, Simba. Dynamos will win on penalties. I think 4-3 on pens. But let's know your thoughts for the Chibuku Super Cup final. Both teams have 100% win rate. Triangle have never lost at Gibbo, whereas Dynamos have won at Chibuku Super Cup away from home. So let us know your thoughts and opinions. We'll be chatting to Dean du Plessis and Beyond the Pitch. The Chevrons have been playing away in triangular against Pakistan and Sri Lanka. So let's dive into a bit of those results. Yeah, so our Chevrons have been competing in a triangular hosted in Asia between Pakistan and Sri Lanka. And to break down some of the results, it's a cricket commentator and analyst, Dean du Plessis. You've been on the show a couple of times, Dean, but thank you for coming back on the show. How are you doing today?
You know, I'm always well, Seeps. To be honest with you, you'll always see me well. And it's wonderful that you guys reach out to me, and good to be catching up. Thank you.
Yeah. So yeah, this dives straight into those results. You played 3 matches so far. Let's talk about our Pakistan run of games. 2 losses from 2 games. Quite heavy defeats. I think on Sunday night there was 60 odd runs. What's going wrong in the T20 camp for the Chevrons?
Yeah, so I think the first defeat was obviously by 5 wickets, and Zimbabwe actually pushed Pakistan quite nicely there. You know, they had them in a bit of strife, but then 2 very accomplished players in Fakhar Zaman and Usman Khan got Pakistan over the line, and then of course there was that tremendous win over Sri Lanka by 67 runs, but then it's just a lack of consistency. And I think that's one of the key words that Zimbabwe cricket has struggled with for a very, very long time. So it's consistency. You know, so one day they kind of get it together. I mean, against Sri Lanka, they were exceptionally good in the field. The bowling was outstanding. Admittedly, the conditions assisted Richard Ngarava and Brad Evans, but it doesn't matter whether the conditions are there or not. You still have to utilize them, and Zimbabwe were brilliant in that particular aspect. And then Pakistan just really showed why they are the unpredictable team that they are, because sometimes they play very poorly, and then other times they just bring this huge amount of flair and panache to whatever it is that they do, when they bat, when they bowl, and that's exactly what they did. But I think consistency, to answer your question, has been the key ingredient that has been missing from Zimbabwe for a very, very long time.
Yeah, we are seeing, the rise of a new bowler, Brad Evans. He has been in the squad a couple of times, but he's really come round to be one of the favourite bowlers actually going into this tournament for the Chevrons. What do you think about Brad?
Yeah, he's good. You know, he's not particularly quick, but he's got skills. And what he does very nicely is that he utilizes what he has to the best of his ability. So he bowls a decent away swinger. He gets the ball to come back in quite nicely. So we've seen, if you remember, in the first game, he trapped Babar Azam plumb in front to LBW. He beat him with an away swinger, and then he got the one to come back, got him out LBW. Bowled beautifully against Sri Lanka and really mopped up the tail quite nicely with Yorkers and slow balls. But then unfortunately, as it does happen in T20 cricket, he was severely put under the pump in the final over, conceding, I think it is 25 or possibly even 28 runs, something of that nature. And it happens to the best. You will remember Stuart Broad once conceding 36 runs against Yuvraj Singh back in the World Cup of 2007. So that doesn't take anything away from what Brad Evans has to offer. He's all right. Like I said, he's medium pace, 129, 130 kilometers an hour, but he's strong. He's definitely gained a bit in muscle as well, so he gets a bit of bounce. But I think he pretty much does rely on the ball to nibble around a little bit for him.
And also in the bowlers, there's been the addition of Graham Creamer recently into the squad. Looking for a couple of spin options. That's also where we've struggled a little bit with Madawere being absent. We haven't had much spin options, so that's obviously where he's come in. Very old when it comes to, not very old, but definitely on the older side when it comes to an athlete's performance. What do you think about Graham? Has he performed to where you would like?
No, unfortunately he hasn't. Now, I can understand what Zimbabwe cricket were trying to do by bringing these old boys back in Brendan Taylor and Graham Creamer, and had it worked, we would have been sitting here and saying, gosh, what a masterstroke. What a wonderful thing this was that Zimbabwe cricket did. And I think you need to credit them for trying something, for thinking out the box and for trying something new. But it hasn't worked. So you need to understand that batsmen in Zimbabwe, generally speaking, struggle to play spin. And so when Graham Creamer became the 4th Zimbabwean to take 9 wickets in an innings in the Logan Cup, a lot of people said, you see, this is exactly why we should have him back. But it wasn't, because batsmen over the years struggle to play spin, whether it's leg spin, but it's in particular left-arm spinner. Well, of course, Graham Creamer is a leg spinner, a right-arm leg spinner. And it's because they don't really know how to rotate strike. So if they're not trying to hit them out of the ground, they go into block mode, and they don't have the in-between and just keeping the scoreboard ticking. And so Graham Creamer coming into the side, he's very, very fit. Brendan Taylor also is the fittest that he's probably ever been. But the problem is that I think they know exactly what they are trying to do, but so the mind is saying one thing and the body is doing another. And I don't necessarily think that it's worked. And I see no reason why they can't be utilized as consultants. You will remember that Sri Lanka's left-arm spinner Rangana Herath was a specific spinning coach for England. England utilized Rangana Herath particularly to work with their spinners. And there's no reason why Graham Creamer can't do something similar. So he can work with the younger players, the young up-and-coming spinners, especially in the subcontinent where Zimbabwe will be going for the T20 World Cup. And there's no reason why Graham can't be utilized there. But I don't think this idea of having Creamer and Taylor in terms of playing I don't think it has worked, and sadly I don't think it is going to work. But Zimbabwe cricket can still save face. They can still, they may be thinking to themselves, oh gosh, what have we done? But of course they're trying to back these players and to give them a few opportunities, but it's not working. But it's not the end of the world. There's still a way around it where they can still, I suppose, save a bit of face and have these players involved in other ways.
Yeah. And also, with some of their batting, again, consistency is a topic that comes up a lot. If Brian Bennett's not scoring runs, or Raza, Burl does have the odd cameo, but he's not very consistent. The runs do tend to lack if those two aren't firing. Would you tend to agree?
Yes, I think that is very, very true. And I've heard a lot of people saying, is it not better for Sikandar Raza to be going up the order, perhaps to be batting at number 3, or maybe even open the batting? I see Tadiwan Ashamarumani got slightly injured. He injured a shoulder. But we can't rely on Sikandar Raza forever. And I just wonder when it will be that one of the younger players will actually step up to the plate and say, right, you know what I'm going to do? I am going to make this position my own by not just getting starts, but by actually scoring runs, and by not just having one good innings, but consistently scoring runs. And I don't know who that player will be, because really it's got to be up to you as to how hungry you are and how much you want to own that position. So nothing is ever cemented in cricket, and I suppose, generally speaking, nothing is really cemented in sport. But it's up to you up to you as that individual to say, right, XYZ, who I'm looking over my shoulder and I see Sips behind me, you're not going to take my place. For as long as I can score runs consistently, you're not going to take my place. So we see the top order who let Zimbabwe down quite badly. I mean, there was a very good opening stand. Let's be honest, Marumani and Bennett got Zimbabwe off to a good start. But it's that middle and lower order, to be perfectly honest with you, who are not contributing. So unfortunately, Tony Mnyonga now, we know what a talent he is. We've seen him score runs, but he's not doing it consistently. There are glimpses of brilliance by Tashinga Musakiwa. I'm a big fan of Musakiwa, but we need to see him not just get these 14s and 15s. Admittedly, he's coming in at a bit of a dodgy time where he has to be scoring runs. And then you mentioned Ryan Bull, and so that's another one where on his day he can be destructive. But again, it's few and far between, and it's just something that's bedeviled Zimbabwe for years and years, where we haven't, with the exception, I suppose, of Sikandar Raza, and then we had Sean Williams, but unfortunately he has his personal problems. They've shown certain degrees of consistency, but other than that, nobody else has really put their hand up and said, right, here I am. You haven't just picked me, but I'm here to stay.
Yeah, I think, but are the players putting themselves in tournaments and scenarios where they're really tested? Yes, the Logan Cup is good for growing the level of cricket, but the difference between the Logan Cup and international cricket is quite extreme.
Yes.
If you look at Sikandar Raza, his calendar is busy. He's playing in the Major League Cricket. Every now and then, he hasn't recently, but he might be playing in the IPL. He's playing in Pakistan in that Super League. Maybe should somebody like Brian Bennett, should players not be looking to, even county cricket, should they not be looking to really put themselves in those sort of tournaments, in those sort of areas where it can really grow?
Yeah, and again, it's up to you as the player to make that happen. So Sikandar Raza didn't just get there just because he got there, because he worked extremely hard and because he rewarded the selectors by consistently scoring runs for Zimbabwe. So if you score runs or take wickets regularly, you will be noticed and you will get to play in various leagues. And that is why Sikanda is as consistent as he is. So he's worked extremely hard, not just during the tournaments. And I think people need to understand this: is that you as a cricketer, or indeed as an athlete, as a sports person, you need to be working hard away from tournaments. Of course, you do need a bit of time out. You can't eat, sleep, drink cricket 48 hours a day, 24 hours a day. You can't do that. But, for example, the true greats of cricket, like Jacques Kallis, for example, when he had a bit of downtime, he would then approach Duncan Fletcher. So Duncan Fletcher used to coach England, former Zimbabwean, I might add as well. And he coached England. He was very influential and instrumental in seeing the progression of people like Jacques Kallis, A.B. de Villiers, J.P. Duminy, and so on. And Jacques, out of his own free will, would say to Duncan, "Coach, I need you please to be with me in the nets for 2 hours, maybe Monday, Wednesday, Friday, because there's some technical issues I need to be working on." And I don't know how many of our players actually take that initiative unless it's presented to them by Zimbabwe Cricket and say, I need to reach out to Dave Houghton, I need to reach out to whoever it is that they feel comfortable with, and let's get into the nets and let's work on trigger movement, let's work on soft hands. So what do we mean by soft hands? It means that when a bowler comes in and bowls to you, that you're not going at the ball hard, that you're dropping the ball in front of you and rotating strike. So you don't necessarily have to be playing a full flowing cover drive or whatever. You drop the ball, drop and run, by taking we talk about taking pace off the ball. In this instance, we talk about taking the impetus out of the shot. You just drop the Tatenda Taibu was so very, very, very good at that. Reggie Chakava was very good at that. We don't really have too many batsmen who do that now. We have batsmen who go very hard at the ball. So there's lots of technical issues that will help. Another thing that needs to be done, and so that is the players, they need to take a bit of onus on themselves and say, I don't have to wait for Zimbabwe Cricket to extend an invitation to work with this particular coach or that coach. I myself have to also be productive in wanting to work with a coach. Now and then another thing as well, Sips, is Zimbabwe need to be playing more A cricket. The A side has to be playing more cricket. And I say this with a lot of respect, but we need to be playing against the likes of India A, Pakistan A, even Afghanistan A, the test playing nations. So we have Durham come out here, and they're out here for 10 days. That's not going to be good enough. You have the A side playing 2-3 day games. There's no way that you're going to be able to really gauge who's done well and who's done poorly. And that A side, there needs to be a structure where the A side plays a lot of 4-day cricket and 1 day, 50 over cricket, and where they get to play against the test playing A sides. And it used to be like that way, I promise you. In the 1990s and early 2000s, there were regular trips to Sri Lanka to go and play Sri Lanka A or South Africa A, or they would be coming here. And there needs to be huge emphasis on that again.
Okay. Yeah, India A did come down when it was in 2023, but they haven't really been around again.
Yes, and they're very short tours as well, Sips. They've got to make them. I understand that financially it's a bit difficult, but surely where there's a will, there's a way. If you want your cricket to not just be, surely we as fans are getting tired of saying we pushed this one to the wire. We nearly crossed the line, but we didn't. We don't want to be saying we nearly crossed the line. We want to be crossing the line. You heard Sikandar Raza actually saying that at a press conference, and he's right. We need to be crossing the line, not just once every 6 or 7 games. Of course, you're never going to win all your games. That's impossible. But there is no reason why you can't be winning a bit more consistently against the stronger nations.
Yeah. And then also, just to wrap up that triangular series, and then we've got one more game against Sri Lanka. Should we not necessarily expect, but would obviously a win's nice? What would be a good result for Zim, just to say, yeah, it was a fair tournament?
Yeah, no, if you don't go out there wanting to win, you shouldn't be playing. You can't go out there and say, well, at least what we want to do is we want to play percentage cricket, and then if we do get into a situation, then push for the win. If you have that attitude, you shouldn't be playing. You should be going out there and saying, we want to win, and nothing, that's non-negotiable. So it doesn't matter who you're playing, because if you don't have that attitude and if you don't have the self-belief, so I guess you get self-belief by winning, It's self-belief is, it's not just something that you wake up and it's there. But absolutely, they need to say to themselves, right, guys, you know what we did on Thursday? We went out there and we didn't just beat Sri Lanka, we thrashed them. And don't worry too much about the toss. If Sri Lanka bat first and get 160 or 170, it will be tricky to chase. But you have to have the self-belief to say we can do it. And once that kicks in and sets in, then hopefully, what we keep saying it, but then hopefully things will start to change. So yes, they need to say we want to end this on a high and on a positive note.
Yeah, well, let's see how the rest of the triangular goes for the Chevrons. One more game against Sri Lanka to hopefully see out a good short format season. Looking at Dave, we had Alois Bonjera, the manager from Caps United. There was the Net1 Alban Marathon, Honda Valley Marathon over the weekend, which looked like it had a good turnout. And so Simba, obviously, we couldn't make it. Alois did extend an invitation, but it's good that, he's promoting health awareness into that Honda Valley area.
Yeah, it's more than that. There was fun there, and could see quite a number of, athletes from around the country, and also quite a number of athletes coming from abroad, Australia. And, the athletes using that also is a qualifying event for the Comrades Marathon. So it was indeed a super event, and a number of people attended it.
Yeah, so the Net1 Alban Honda Valley Marathon grows from strength to strength. That video will also be linked in the description. The finals of the Grid Cup was hosted over the weekend as well. The first franchise rugby tournament Zimbabwe has had, and it was the Sunrays who won 4 games out of 4, and they beat the MPs in the final. So great job to Kara Sport, but also the title sponsor Castle Lager, who made that competition happen. It's great for Zimbabwean rugby, and it will be interesting to see where it goes from here as we move from strength to strength.
Players receive their medals, celebrations on stage. 2025 Grid Cup Castle Lager.
Under 21 hockey girls are playing in the Junior World Cup hosted in Santiago, Chile. And on Sunday they left for Chile and they have arrived at the airport. And so we're wishing them all the best. I was actually very fortunate to join them for a session in the series of a Fanzone BTS. So that video will be ready for you to watch during the week. And so we hope you enjoy that one. But wishing all our girls the best as they prepare for Santiago, Chile. So lots of things happen in the 2025 PSL season as we get to the end. There's the renewal of contracts, players might leave, new players might be brought in. But on Sunday it was announced that Norman Peza has left FC Platinum. He had some nice words, just some nice parting words for the Platinum boys. Simba, it's been rumored that he might be going to Hard Rock FC. Do you think that's true? Is it a possibility?
Yeah, it's a possibility. We are in the off-season now in terms of, the transfers, and they call it the silly season. Yes, rumors will always be flying around, but it is said that he might be going to Hard Rock. He might also be going to Scotland. I don't know what will happen to the coach who is there, but that has been the rumor that has been circulating for a long time. But one thing for certain is Norman Mapeza is wanted by many clubs.
That's true. What are your thoughts on Norman, just in general, as a coach and what he's done for FC Platinum this season, David?
Yeah, he's a very good coach, Norman. I've worked with him in 2004 with Caps United, and to be honest, he was like a brother to me. And whatever he has done in coaching is no fluke, and he has worked so hard, to be where he is. He won a championship with Mono Mtapa in 2008, 2009 there, and also joined FC Platinum in 2014 mid-season. And from there, I thought maybe FC Platinum was going to win the championships, especially when they got promoted 2011, 2012, 2013, because they were bringing in all those players that they thought, were the best players in Zimbabwe, but they failed, when Norman was not there. But when Norman joined the team, I think that's when, that system was dropped and Norman took over, started to build, his team, his philosophy with the FC Platinum, and whatever they achieved in those 10.5 years that Norman was there. I think not many coaches will last, especially in this kind of situations. When coaches are there, imagine Norman spending 10 years at FC Platinum. Yeah. Who thought Norman would spend 10 years at FC Platinum? But it was him, he himself, and he set a much bigger bar, at FC Platinum, and whatever is now being, said about Norman, I think he has done so fantastic well. And I myself, I'm also venturing into coaching. He's one of the coaches that I look up to and say, okay, fine. One day I would want to be like Norman, achieve things at a club. Wherever he's going, we wish him well. And I feel the boys that went through, Norman Sengu, right now, everyone is coming in with best wishes to Norman. He's a disciplinarian, to be honest. And like what he said yesterday after, the match, and he said, we need to be united as a nation. We need everyone, to be supported, even Papa Sarakera and Ngachita. So at the end of the day, as for Norman, to be honest, he still has got so much to offer in our local football, wherever he is going, whether it's Hard Rock, whether it's Manica Diamonds, whether it's Scotland. We just wish he's still there in the dugout.
Yeah. Well, that's obviously big shoes to fill for the upcoming coach for FC Platinum. But Scotland continue to have rumours in this new sort of transfer season, coming to the new season. It might be rumoured that Emmanuel July and Junior Makunike will be joining the Scotland side. Simba, your thoughts on this move, is particularly for July. Obviously, Dynamos captain. He's kept them alive from relegation. A, do you think this could be, somewhat true? And B, is it a good move for July?
Yeah, look, when you look at Scotland, one thing also is that they're a team that is ambitious. And when they had the bulk of the players that they have at the moment, they wanted those players to help them win the league title like they did last season. In the first division, they had a number of players that did good for them. But after winning, you'll be getting into another higher stage. And then you eliminate those players, take new players that you go with. And now that they've won the league title, there are some players that are also going to be laid off. But look at the ages of the players that they are bringing in now. The likes of Junior Makunike, Emmanuel Jalai, if it's true. Of course, it's a strong rumor, actually. It's because they now want to start winning off those older players and start fusing in these players who are kind of the right age now. And look, next year by this time, you look at the bulk of the players that are there, they will be turning a year older and will be playing in Africa. When you're playing in the Champions League, you also need players that are going to stand the heat. But now they've got a good combination of the experienced players that did good for them this year, and also the likes of, that's the reason why they also had Mafias Chiweta coming in from Islanders during mid-season, Tadiwa Chapchichi, the likes of Kingsley Mureremba. So those other players with the likes of Jalai coming in, Junior Makunike coming in, is because they now want the new blood to take the team forward. So it might be really a true of what's happening at Scotland, that they are bringing in those players.
Yeah, Scotland continue to have rumours about who they'll be signing, but there was also a crazy and frantic week over last week when the PSL announced that they would like to extend the league to 22 teams and no relegation in the 2025 PSL season. That was then later denied and discharged by the ZIFA committee. But that was a crazy week. When you first said that rumor, nobody really believed you, Simba, but then it came out to be true. David, what was your response when you saw that the PSL possibly could be extending to 22 teams?
No, that was insane thinking, to be honest. And whoever thought about it, I think just need to look at himself and say, "Kuti, are we developing football when we're adding more teams? You know, we're struggling with 18 teams. Now we want to add 4 more teams when we're still struggling, which means there won't be quality in our league. For example, look at a team like Kwekwe United. They spent the whole season winning 1 game, you know, shipping in goals like no one's 79 goals the whole season. They couldn't even fulfill 1 or 2 matches during the season. They had to call players to come for matches. They were not training, you know, in the first half of the season. So why do we need teams like Kwekwe United in our league? No, we need to reduce the number of teams. If we are moving from 18, we need to move back to 16, not going to 22. Remember, we're going to play 42 games in the league, so which means our league was going to start in February. And how many stadiums are we going to be using? We need to consider all that. I think we tried it in 2000 when we increased teams to 18 to 20, and we were to relegate 6 teams by end of season. But they had to sit down again in the middle of the season and say, guys, we're relegating 6 teams. And there was an outcry within those teams that were in the bottom half of the league. So at the end of the day, it's about decisions that you make. Talk to your stakeholders and see how people are going to be reacting out there. Is it foreseeable in the future that we can have 22 teams? The best leagues in the world is 20 teams that they're there in their leagues. Some 18, but that's in Europe. But here in Africa, in South Africa, they've got 16 teams. You go to Egypt, 16 teams. You go to Morocco, 16 teams. In Tunisia, I think they've got 14. Those are the best leagues in Africa. But us as Zimbabweans, we wanted to go for 22. Instead of reducing the teams, we're putting more teams in our league. That's another burden now to the sponsors as well. Because we only have got 1 sponsor. We need more sponsors. We need to attract more sponsors. We need to attract the best talent in the country. Reduce your teams, then you have the best talent in the country.
Yeah, the best playing each other.
Yeah.
Simba, but I remember you saying this was a little bit crazy as well, but you're happy that this didn't go through, that final decision.
I'm not really sure if it has really died down. It might be resurrected at the Zipper Congress, and you might see that, going to 20 teams. This has always been about the external pressure, the pressure that are coming in from outside football, and then they are pushed to have decisions being made, by football people. And, it was created also as a kind of a buffer or soft landing should the big 2 teams had been relegated. But probably now that they have survived, we might see it dying. But this is not the last time we are going to see some of these decisions coming in. The decisions will always be coming due to external pressures more than the decision that should be coming from within the football people.
Well, let us know your thoughts and comments on the PSL trying to introduce 22 teams into the 2026 season. Well, that brings us to the end of our episode. David and Dean, thank you so much for sitting in the Fanzone with us. I've enjoyed our conversation with both of you. And yeah, as always, thank you as well.
Thank you.
To the viewers, if you've enjoyed this video, remember to like, comment, and subscribe. Turn on the notification bell so you're alerted every time we upload a video. There is the Fanzone Podcast, Larry's Look at the League, and this week's at any point it'll be the Fanzone Beyond the episode with the under-21 ladies. So you don't want to miss that episode as well. Remember to follow us on our social media, Facebook, X, Instagram, also our WhatsApp channel to stay up to date as to what's happening. And just a final closer for our winners, for our Moors PSL predictor winners. Prize giving is on the 6th of December at Moors Ngoni Stadium. Do not expect your prize any second before that. That is the day you will be given. And also for the main sweepstake winners. But that's us from the Fanzone studio, and we'll see you guys in the next episode.